So the first is to identify a workflow process within your firm. If you had to buy that firm right now or build it today, what would the workflow process look like? Hello, everyone. My name is Hamid Kohan. I'm the CEO and president of a company called LegalSoft. Thanks for joining us today in this session. I'm going to be talking about how to scale your law practice, more specifically on the bankruptcy practice. So a little bit about LegalSoft. We are a nationwide practice management and scaling company based in Los Angeles. I personally, my background comes from high tech. I spent about 20 years in Silicon Valley in several different companies at Sun Microsystem, HP, Compaq, and companies like that. And in the past 7-8 years, I've been involved in the legal industry, and it started by bringing the technology into the legal industry. And I started by consulting several different law firms on how to scale, how to go nationwide, and a variety of different aspects of staffing, technologies, automation, and the infrastructure. One of the things about challenges of the market, especially in the bankruptcy, which is facing a lot of new challenges from growth and the expansions and the staffing and the marketing and so forth that we're going to cover today. The current landscape of the bankruptcy has been a lot of issues, as you guys are aware of, in the past few years, with number of bankruptcies, not being as high as it's supposed to be, and now we're getting ready for a bubble, and now it's going to be a new era of handling the bankruptcy cases and how to scale the law firm. So there's a huge increase in the market by having companies coming to the bankruptcy market without doing a lot of lawyering, basically. So there's a lot of service providers that are coming and with low prices and low costs to be able to do the bankruptcy, which makes it more challenging for the traditional bankruptcy firms to be able to operate and be able to match those kind of pricing. There's going to be a big surge in the bankruptcy filings because the COVID is over and there's a lot of changes happening, and I think everybody's expecting a big surge to make up for the past losses of slowing down in the bankruptcies. The courts were all backlogged, they're all behind, so there's a lot of challenges on that. So the cost of essentially operating a law firms has gone up both from the labor, technology, overhead, everything has gone up, and those are the challenges that we need to meet and be able to handle via the automations and technologies and so forth. Operational costs, anything from cost of software to insurances to every related cost to the bankruptcy has gone up. So it's going to make it challenging to actually make the same numbers that you used to or you're expecting to do. Technology advancements. There is a lot of new technologies have come in to help the new law firms to expedite the intake process, the case management, actually filing and all of that. So there's going to be a big, I'm going to cover those technology areas that we're going to be talking about, and adoption of the technology. Traditionally, a lot of the transactional law firms, including bankruptcy, immigration, estate planning, they've been very not so advanced on using of a technology and automation. And this is going to be a new challenge, trying to implement those technologies into the firm so you can reduce the cost of the operation and increase the efficiency and the productivity of the firm. Regulatory and compliance, again, they always making it more challenging to be able to handle the cases and be able to comply with all the ethics issues and all the regulatory issues and so forth. Again, every one of these situations is just making it tougher to scale a law practice, especially in the transactional law, which is the outside companies are now coming to this market. One of the things that you guys might not know is the new initiative called the ABS program. ABS program, I'm actually one of the only folks in California who owns a law firm without being an attorney. It's called the ABS program. So it's alternative business. Places like Arizona, Utah, Washington, D.C., they allow a non-attorney to own a law firm, which essentially makes it easy for somebody like Amazon to come in and own a law firm, which is in the horizon. It's been going on for a few years now, and they're granting more and more law firm permissions to business units to act like a law firm. And the first target for those ABS programs is transactional law, because obviously it's more difficult to get into litigation law versus the transactional law. I'll be happy to answer some of the questions, especially about those kind of programs that is very new in the industry. So digital transformation is all this new technology, especially AI, which is now everybody's talking about, which is going to come into the law practices, especially transactional law. So all the digital tools, automated document collection, automated reminders, data analysis, and everything that goes with the bankruptcy applications, they're all going to be technology oriented if you already don't have that. Even on the basic process of identifying every single document that is required for every type of a bankruptcy filing is going to be automated. So you're not even get to tell the client what kind of a documentations they need to provide, because it's already basically identified. Is they give them a sample of one, and they give them a reminder to make sure they get provided. And then when you get those documentation, you need to analyze it, combine it, calculate it. All of it is done automatically now. Remote legal services. This is the part I was just talking about, the ABS programs. All of the companies, essentially, when I was actually, I got licensed in Arizona to have an ABS, and there was 12 of us in the room. You go in front of a Arizona Supreme Court and the commissioners, and they decide if they want to allow you to do this. The other 11 folks that were in there, they were all looking to become an ABS certified so they can practice nationwide on the business side of law only. And that was eye-opening for me, that it's not completely changing to business of law, not the actual practicing of law. The other part of a process is the client retention and client satisfaction and so forth. You guys deal with a lot of drama when you're doing a filing. It doesn't matter if it's a personal filing or a business filings. There's a lot going on. And there's, again, a lot of technology in place today to be able to manage the client relationships, the client process, providing automated updates and statuses on the cases, which occupies a lot of attorneys' time or paralegals or any other staff in-house to be able to keep the client happy and the process moving forward. Client engagement and marketing, and using the technology today, we can identify within Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, and identify the lookalikes, which is essentially if you handled, let's say, 500 clients within your practice, and if you provide the Meta ad campaigns, the list of the folks that you actually work with without identifying any names or information, proprietary information or confidential, and ask Facebook to target everybody who looks like that, basically, from demographics and finances and so forth. They find those category of people and they serve them the ads, which is basically a technology of targeting a specific type of clients that you're looking for. So within the system, they call it lookalikes. And is a big component right now. That's when you're in your social media and you look at something, and then all of a sudden you see a lot of it because they're just now targeting you. So that has been a technology within the marketing and the client engagement. So talk about the virtual staffing. LegalSoft, we provide virtual staffing to about 1,000 law firms so far. And these are nationwide, anywhere from litigation firms to transactional to immigration and everything else. So the way it works is pretty unique the way we do it, because we focus within the legal industry only. And we have a staff in 7 different countries which do the recruiting and training and placement of the virtual staff within the law firms. And these are specifically trained for a specific type of a practice type and the position within that practice type. The reason we started doing this about 6 years ago was lack of local resources that you can actually hire and maintain and keep them happy, which is a big part of the human resources issues. And that's when we started looking for outside global resources to be able to do that. So it's a huge cost reduction because it's full-time staff ranges about 2,000 plus, full-time dedicated trained bankruptcy intake staff, if you can imagine. So it's a scalable because if you like one, you get 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's not just about the intake, it's about legal assistance, people who can do the motions, who can do the filings, collecting all the documentations from the clients. Everything above is all included within the virtual staff. The flexibility, and one of the things I always said about, we're in LA, so the resources are pretty difficult in LA, and the cost of living is high. So getting a staff is almost like you got to make them happy, you got to do everything they want to do, and they have no obligation for them to make you happy. So basically what happens is that we're constantly trying to maintain our staff, and versus the virtual staff, which are extremely grateful to have a job, which is sort of in California is a bit unheard of having employees being grateful about having a job. So it makes a big difference, and especially when they're specialized within your practice type. So having access to the diverse resources globally is in about 7, 8 different countries that we have local offices, local recruiters, trainers, and sort of a client success managers in each of those countries. So we get about 10,000 applicants a month that we need to narrow it down and screen it to about 300 presentable staff. So imagine going from 10,000 to 300. And then once we screen them, we train them in a specific practice type and specific positions. Then we present them to the law firms, usually 4 at a time. They interview them just like you do in your office. And if they select them, we put them into some more extensive training with the case management software the firms use, or the practice areas, more intense practice areas. And then we place them within the firm as a full-time dedicated staff. That some of the firms I've seen them, they have like 4 people on their Zoom all day long. Basically like they're all sitting in the same office. They say, John, can you do this? Mary, can you do that? I mean, it's like an office within the screen. Now, by day, we treat this staff as like a full-time employees. We provide them health insurance for them and the family. We provide them retirement accounts, paid holidays, computers, high-speed internet, everything. So it gives them an incentive to stick around in the long-term basis because both us and the firms are spending a lot of time training the staff. So we want to make sure that they stay around. I'm trying to follow the presentation. I usually don't do presentation, I just talk, but not actually following it is a difficult thing. So increasing the efficiency of the operation. So I was just talking to some attorneys today, and I'm asking them, what is that you do in your practice? Pretty much everything. Like I talk to the clients, I consult with the clients, I help them identify, what they need to do, and then I help them collect the documentations, and then I analyze the documentation, make my recommendations. When I was doing the consulting for the law firms, one of the first things I did, I go to the law firm and says, write down for me everything that you do in the daily basis. So they make me a big list, and I usually draw the line and says, everything below this line is $20 an hour. So you want to tell me that your time worth $20 an hour? Because all of this is that. So that was the first step of eliminating. I basically told them, for me to be able to be an effective consultant, you got to stop doing this. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to make sure somebody does it accurately, on time, and efficient. That's what the concept of the virtual staff actually got generated. But be able to have that list and draw the line. I'm sure everybody here relate to that you do. I used to make a joke a long time ago saying, if you let the lawyers be, they'll still be waiting on their fax machine wearing their pagers. Somebody had to push them off of that and say, no, you actually need to go do some lawyering and don't do this stuff. So this is what the virtual staff really does for you. Scalability. I have law firms who were very, very hesitant to try this out because we all used to having all of our staff around us and talk to them and interact. So they start 1 and 2, and then some of these firms came back and says, I need 6 more next week. And I was like, you're not ordering pizza here. I mean, it's not that easy. But they found it so easy to scale because the big limitation for them to scaling always was, oh, it's too much headache. I can't find this many people. I can't manage this many people. I can't handle their benefits, their taxes, their payroll, the time off, which we do all of that, by the way. So the firms don't have to do anything. It's like 1 invoice a month for a full-time staff, and that's it. We take care of everything else for them. So it makes it very scalable to go from 1 or 2 to 20 and 40. I have litigation firms with upward of 40 to 50 virtual staff within the firm. Everything from intake to document collection, case management, writing demands on the litigation side, doing even deposition assistance remotely to be able to do proper depositions. Cost effective, we already talked about, because you have one fixed cost. It's $2,300 and that's it. And that's full time. Go ahead. Common question, confidentiality and privacy of information and all of that. Every time for the past 20 years that I called American Express, I talked to somebody who was not based in US. And pretty much American Express knows everything about me, and so does my banking, so much everything else. That having said that, the way we control what computer they use, what URL they go to, we capture their screen every 15 minutes, and we record all the calls. We never had a security breach. And they work remotely, and when they collect information or documents, they're not allowed to save that on the local system. So it has to be on the cloud base or most time on the case management software that firm uses. So there's no data stored locally at all. And look, the other question I asked when I was doing the consulting is like, how do you know the 10 people working in your office are not taking advantage of privacy information? There is no guarantees. In fact, when you're working with the PI firms, personal injury firm, the biggest issue they have is the receptionists and other folks referring cases out of the firm because they get $10,000 per case. Well, there's really no American cultural thing anymore. With such a blended environment, look around this room, look at myself. I wasn't born here, obviously, but look, the adaptability of the people globally is much greater than our adaptability here. And this is how the way of life is over there. You know, when looking at Philippines or Ecuador or Mexico, where we have the offices at, they adopt much quicker than anybody I see in the office. When I hire somebody in the office, we have about 300 staff, 60 of them in the office, and 240 of them spread all over the globe. Those are our staff, not the agents that we put into the firms. I have much tougher time when somebody comes to the office to adapt to the culture of my office environment than my virtual staff do. Because one, they're isolated from all the drama and the sort of all the talks and all the BS that happens in the office. They don't having coffee breaks with 6 other people in the kitchen. You know, they're isolated that way, so they adapt much quicker. They just need to adapt to your work culture, how you work, what's your standards, what's your KPIs. That's what they're focused on, not how to interact with 8 other people in the office when they don't have to. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so ask me again, I'll be happy to answer. Well, first of all, they're trained. Second of all, maybe some people get offended here, doing a lot of the work in your office is not brain surgery. It's a lot of repetitive work. You're dealing with the same clients with the same problem that they need the same help. It's not like everybody comes in, have a sort of a Cheesecake Factory menu with 50 different foods in them. It is, you'll be surprised how in 1 or 2 weeks they adapt so well because they focus. Again, they're grateful to have that job. They're grateful to train and learn and grow. So they adapt so much faster. And you're dealing with, I don't know, after you deal with 50 Chapter 11 clients or Chapter 7, the 51 and 52 and 53 pretty much is the same 80–90% of the time. So we have to take in the big problem and make it into a smaller problem so we can deal with it. I hope that answered. By the way, they work, this is another thing I like. I had 2 personal assistants in the office, which I had a hard time maintaining. And then somebody convinced me to get my own personal assistants globally, and I don't know how to live without it because she worked exactly on my schedule, and she manages everything that I do on a daily basis, both personal and business, and she works the exact hours that I need them to work, right? So when we place these folks within your firm, they work exactly as you want to tell them to start at 7 a.m. and finish at 3, or start at 10 and finish at 7. You want to work them on Sunday and Saturday because you're behind. No questions asked, no argument, no resistance. They follow that as the exact instructions that you give them on how to work and when to work. And they almost perfectly follow the process because they're sort of systematically programmed to do that. Any other question? Yes, sir. I'll tell you why. Good question, good search. I created the Magic Law Group for one purpose, well, it was 2 purposes. One, since I was engineer with the MBA coming to the law firms, the first resistance I got is like, you're not even an attorney. And I said, thank God, because there's plenty of you guys. You don't need another one. So I don't need to come in with the perspective of I'm going to help you in the area of law, but I can help you in the area of scaling, technology, and infrastructure, which is my background. So that was one of the reasons, to just sort of take care of that reason. The second part, as you all know, to be able to do client referrals, you need to be a law firm. So you need to do fee sharing, and you need to do your share of services to be able to refer a case to other firms so you can do fee sharing. And that was the second reason. So most of the practice area that you saw in there is a contingency base, which actually allows us to refer out a personal injury or employment case or SSDI that makes business sense. Is a new trend that a lot of the attorneys, especially the new ones, that they don't necessarily are married into practicing of law. So well, we set them up to be a law firm, generate tons of cases in whatever practice type that they want, and we set them up to refer all of these cases to the firms who actually want to practice. So that's what the Magic Law was set up for. We don't practice law. Because we don't refer bankruptcy cases. It's not cost effective. I said we don't refer out transactional law cases like immigration, estate planning, bankruptcy. We only do it on the litigation cases that is a contingency based like employment, class action, personal injury, workers' comp, catastrophic workers' comp. Because it's purely a referral solution. Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's a legal software. The Magic Law Group is sort of my own project that I did as setting up a law firm to be able to do case referrals. But LegalSoft does not do that. LegalSoft provides virtual staffing, practice management, practice growth, and so forth. They don't do any case referrals or case retaining, nothing like that. Under the LegalSoft enterprise, there is 7 different companies that I will explain. One of them is this virtual staffing. We have a practice AI, which is completely AI development for law practices. And then we have a practice management who only grows and markets and expands the law firms. So it's a separate companies within one brand. Let me move through this since we actually, so one of the ways we do a consultation base, basically when we do this staffing. So we have this org chart builder within our system. We talk to each different firm independently and identify exactly where the needs are. What's the organizational chart look like? Almost nobody has an organizational chart. When I tell them, I want to see one, they're like, what do you mean? I got 10 people working here. And that's basically, it's me and the 10 people who work here. So we help them actually bring an org chart that says, this person does my intake, this person does my accounting, this person does my case management or whatever. And based on that, we identify areas where they can use virtual staffing to possibly replace or add on to the existing staff. in the same process that we do the virtual staffing, we also evaluate the workflow process. Again, something that law firms don't have, unless you're a big law. It's like, what's the workflow process? When you engage with the client as the initial call, can you draw up exactly what is the process that you go through all the way to the end of the case? Like, okay, I do the intake, I send the retainer, get the retainer back, I put it into my case management software, then we start collecting document and information, that entire workflow process. Because once you do that, you also identify where is the deficiencies in your workflow process. Why are there too many people involved on the same thing? Or why is the things take so long? Because we time every step of that workflow process. Let's say you retain a client and you want to do all the information collection. They say, this needs to happen within the 2 weeks. Otherwise, it is going to delay the end of the case, which just sits around and collect dust, essentially, because instead of going from beginning to the end within 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, now you're 1 year, 2 years into it. Yes? No, it is all 1099 through us. We are a service provider, so you have no employee-employee relationship. You have no tax liability, benefits, no rules, everything, and there's no long-term contracts either. So you basically call and say, I'm done with this. Everything is part of our contract, and we have a full-time ethics attorney on board that helps us with all of this, first of all. Otherwise, we couldn't do a lot of different things. And we are liable for any of the mistakes that it was caused by LegalSoft itself, yes. So that we have all the insurances you can imagine to be able to cover that, like most people here do. I mean, certain things are not, obviously, when you instruct one of our VAs to do something that is not right, but you have actually instructed them to do it, then that's where the liability lies on you. But if something happens on our side, we are liable for that. Any other questions? So, because of time, I want to actually cut through some of this. And we also, one big thing, not everybody knows how to manage virtual staff, because we're all used to having everybody around us. We tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, leave now, don't leave now, all that stuff. So we actually coach the attorneys how to deal with the virtual staff and how to manage it most effectively, and how to give them a schedule, give them deliverables, give them, hold them to what the deliverables are and so forth. So I'm going to scan through this. So there is a now, on the expanding of a law firm, we talked about the virtual staff that makes it easy. Once you expand, you can actually handle the cases. Now, on the other side, when we're doing the practice growth, we create this complete practice growth solution, which helps you to essentially scale your law firm and be able to do this entire marketing of the law practice, which is client generations, client retentions. Not most firms actually have a systematic way to have a client retention or client referral program, right? So everybody thinks that everybody I ever work with going to remember me and they're going to refer me clients, friends, family, colleagues, or whatever. It doesn't happen anymore. The social media doesn't allow it, because even if they think about a bankruptcy, they're going to see 50 different things on social media, which is going to take your client to somebody else. So we have all of those systems in place to be able to do monthly newsletters, do SMS marketing that congratulates them on their holidays and events and so forth, just keeping them engaged, keeping your social media active. One of the big things about bankruptcy is it is a very social media driven practice. Before it changes people's life when you considering doing a bankruptcy for personal or business or whatever. And that's a big decision. Most of the times right now, they need to go and actually check the firm's social media. Social media is not a lead generation really anymore, it's a validation. So somebody told me somebody is great, I'm gonna go check out all of their social media and make sure they're actually right. I always use the example, I have 3 boys, when we wanna go have dinner, they want to go check out the restaurant social media and postings and stuff before we go eat. It's like, we're not really making a major decision here, so why are you doing that? Imagine now that they're retaining your attorney. They're going to go to your social media, They want to make sure that you have good ratings, good reviews, good testimonials, and you're a real person. That's why we manage hundreds of law firms' entire social media, from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, the entire thing. We do the content generation, we produce the videos, we edit the videos, we post them, we engage them. I don't know, for something like less than $1,000 a month, we do that for the entire firm. And that's a validation where you get your people back and you get your referrals and you get your new leads. So that whole marketing package, which has to do with your social media, the entire online presence, your website, is like, how many of you have truly redesigned or updated your website in the past 12 months? Raise hands. Okay, we got about less than 1%. Why is that? I mean, that's supposed to be, that's how you started your practice for most likely. It says, I need to have a license, I need to have a website, and then I need to forget about it. It doesn't work like that. If they go to your website, go ahead. Well, everybody's content because you type the domain and it shows up. So all they check is say, yeah, do I have a website up? Just like checking your bar license. Is it active? Great. I mean, but how good are you doing it? Just having a license doesn't make you a great attorney. So you practice, you improve, you learn, like you're here, learning, things like that. So the website needs to stay current with your practice and your competition. So just having a website that says, John Smith practicing, bankruptcy, been around for 24 years, that doesn't get you much. The concept of SEO, the SEOs that actually perform, not just for the sake of doing SEO, but if I go to your website and I don't see your video talking to me, I'm not buying. Because I see old picture of you from 20 years ago that says you graduated from this place and that place. What is that going to do for me? I go in there and even the reviews, I'm not considering it real current. First of all, it's old. Two is text. Who reads? Nobody reads anything anymore. I need to be able to click something that somebody, real person, real case, tells me how great you were helping them. Now I'm convinced. Not just seeing pictures and whatever. It doesn't work. So, and then it all ties up together from your social media online presence, which is active. You need to post like 3 times a week. You need to be at least one of them being a video. Even if you just do a selfie, it doesn't matter. I mean, we have videographers. We actually have one of them here from my company is that videoing this because I'm going to put this on my social and the videos and all of that because even this has a great value for us. So we have videographers almost in every state that they go on site to the client like yours and they do 2-3 hours of shootings that we use for like 3 or 4 months worth of content. So you need to sort of tie all of that together. So we do newsletter, we do SMS, we do email, we do website maintenance, social media maintenance. We create whatever, everybody here can get one of these. We do custom mobile app for each practice. So imagine you tell your client to go download your mobile app that is customized both on Apple and Android, that they can send you referrals right from the app. They can provide you all of their credit card information, banking information, pay stub, tax returns, everything through the app. And they can check the status of their case with you, call and chat with you right from the app. Again, this is all just piecemeals, and we have this promotion now that sort of everybody gets one, and it's free. But it ties all up together. So that app resides on your email signature, on your social media, on your website. So every time somebody contacts you and says, you want to be in touch with me, ask questions, send me documents, send me referrals, download my app. So it's like a 360. And before, if you had to do any of these things, you had to hire like vendors you mentioned. After you hired the 3rd vendor, you're done. You're like, how many vendors do I have to deal with? One for my website, one my social, one for my SEO, one for... You can't do that. That's why we put it all into one package. So a group of people continuously keeping up your environment. Any other questions? Okay, now I have another interesting process. AI in bankruptcy. essentially, it's my prediction. I actually, those of you who have come by the booth, you can get a copy of it. I wrote a book about a year and a half ago about how to scale your AI law firm. It used to be how to scale your stupid law firm. Now it changed to AI. It went right from stupid to AI. So what that means, if within the transactional law, if you don't reinvent your practice within the AI, AI is going to push you guys all out of the standard bankruptcy practices. I'm not talking about litigation. I'm not talking about complex cases. I'm talking about the standard 7, 11, 13 kind of a thing, where AI is going to take it over in about less than 3 years. Because I know personally, we are developing a platform already that is going to basically do your client intake automatically with the system. By the way, when you see how we do that, it's kind of freaky. You're talking to somebody on the screen that looks like a complete real person, but is not. It's an avatar, but you have to actually like zoom in and see how they move their mouth when they speak, and they speak 100 languages simultaneously. So they do your intake. Then they send them links to be able to collect all the information and documentations you wanted. Then they take all of those documentation, sort it per category, and summarizes it and gives you a summary report. Every definition that you use to identify what's the next step for this client to get the extension, file, don't file, whatever, the AI is going to do it. There's at least 4 or 5 other companies who are currently developing that platform. Our approach is a little bit different. Since we are not want to be practicing bankruptcy, we are developing the platform to provide it to the bankruptcy firms who they can brand it under their name and use it. So it essentially makes your law practice virtual, because you only get to do the lawyering, the AI is going to do the rest of the work. Even when I said our virtual staff going to do most of those work, we're actually obsoleting ourselves by taking the virtual out and put AI in. So we're even going that far with our own business for the part of the initial intake and document collections and so forth. So that's sort of what's on the horizon. And those ABS programs and AIs that I talked about, this is where all the big players are coming into, like Facebooks and Googles and Amazons and LegalZooms, and they all basically, there's a target on your back from all of these big boys who want to own that market, reduce the expenses and the cost so low that it would be impossible to compete with in certain levels. Any questions? Yeah, it's better to know now than then be surprised later on. If you get ahead of it, both one with trying to do as much of a virtual staffing as possible, even if you're doing it yourself, it doesn't matter. Just reduce that cost, increase that efficiency and productivity, delegate some of the responsibility to other people to do it that are low cost and low human resources commitment, then technology, and then in the end, AI. If you don't go on those 3 trains, you're going to be obsolete in about 3 years. In the next 3 years, yeah. By end of this year, you're going to see at least 2 or 3 complete AI implemented sites that they do bankruptcy completely AI. It already exists in immigration. Well, if they didn't, you guys wouldn't be here. So they look at the big picture. They don't look at, 1 client, 100 clients, 1,000 clients. It's just like, understand the concept of Amazon. They don't think about selling this one thing makes them billions. They need to sell millions of things to make them billions. So it's all accumulative. I want all bankruptcy stuff. I want all immigration stuff. I want all family law, which is uncontested divorces, which is a straightforward applications and filing. I want all of them. And that combined is going to be tens and tens of billions of dollars. Yes? Absolutely. Good question. There was one more question that I wanted to answer. Somebody had to raise their hand. She wanted me to summarize the things that I covered into how to scale your law practice in the multiple steps that is almost like a standard recipe of what you do. So the first is to identify a workflow process within your firm. If you had to buy that firm right now or build it today, what would the workflow process look like? Where is the start? Where is the beginning? Everybody who has specific responsibilities and a time frame for each of those. This takes 1 week, this takes 3 weeks, this takes 3 months, I'm done. So that's the first part. Second, identify technologies that you can use instead of human resources. Intake technologies, document collection technologies, like there's on one of our services is a free solution for automated document collection. So you basically put the client name in there and the documents they need to provide. It will going to bug the hell out of them until they provide all the documentations automatically. So this is some of the stuff you can get for free, right? So workflow process, technologies and automations. Third, eliminate everything that you don't need to do and a virtual staff can do for $10 an hour, essentially. Because you don't want to pay yourself $10 an hour, and I don't think you can have anybody in the office that really works with $10 an hour. Fully loaded, including taxes and insurance and benefits. Fourth, have a plan for migration so when the AI happens, what are you going to do? Because it's going to happen, it's not if. It will definitely happen. And it's already on its way. So what is my AI strategy? Am I going to adopt the AI platform? Am I going to use AI? Is my staff going to use AI? And to what extent? This is sort of a safety measure between beginning and the end. Now, not jumping on the marketing and the scaling. There is no shortage of a bankruptcy clients and leads, by the way. It's like, how many do you want tomorrow? It is the easiest practice type to generate clients for. And there's not much competition out there either. I mean, if it were personal injury, oh wow, you see all these ads, billboards, TVs, radios, it's competitive. Bankruptcy isn't. So if you want clients, running a simple social media ads will generate you so much client. But when you generated those leads, you gotta have people to convert them to clients. They can't just phone calls coming in and leads coming in and you're not in the office and nobody's answering them. That's you're wasting your money. So you need to have intake staff who are 100% on converting leads to clients. And honestly, you could scale 10x if you do it right, because it's one of those practice types that there is no cap on getting new clients. And the cost of client acquisition is very inexpensive. It's like, last time I checked, in the most states, you're looking at about $250 cost of client acquisition for bankruptcy. I mean, how can you not make money with that if you operate properly? $250 per client, so you're getting 10 clients this month for $2,500. I mean, it's the best practice bargain. But you got to take advantage of it now because there's a plenty in the market. So that sort of summarizes that whole scaling process by combination of techniques and tools and resources to get there. Yes? Data verification, like everybody else does. I go apply for a mortgage, I lie on my application about my income, my bank statement, my bank balance. How do you think the big banks who loan me $3 million verify everything I said is correct? AI can do 100 times better than any banker, any mortgage personnel within any financial institution. They have the data. One thing we are very rich of in this country is data. Look, you have many, many limitations as a person, as a firm. Time, resources, knowledge, tools. AI doesn't. There is no limitation. Unlimited resources, unlimited data, unlimited information, time, everything that would take you a week to do, AI is going to do in 2 minutes. No, it was called a learning machine. Somebody always needs to verify things. I'm not saying that the AI is just going to do it, file it, decide it. I mean, I'm not saying that. It's not there. It still needs supervision. But everything that works up to that decision that you make can be done for you to just look at it for 10 minutes and say, good, bad, ugly, done. The analysis can be done. Look, if I take 500 cases that you personally handle within your practice, and I feed that to my machine, not only understands and finds the patterns of the data and the relationships of the data with each other, creates patterns and predictions, it also learns how you as a firm operate and how you make decisions. And it can tell you, says, hey, John, you would typically file this case, even though my data recommends you not to. It's that complex and that knowledgeable because it cannot stop learning. Imagine you hire this Harvard graduate, top of the class attorney who works 24/7, has no limitation of time or capabilities, and it works for you 24 hours a day because it has learning capabilities. The AI has unlimited ability to learn and analyze and implement. Question? That's the validation part. Essentially, okay, so for example, we in Legal Software, we created a complete demand writing AI for personal injury cases. Okay, so imagine you're feeding it all these medical records, all the MRIs, X-rays, lab results, pain management results, and it reads it all within like 5 minutes, gives you a complete summary of the injuries and evaluations of those injuries and what the client should be compensated for. It also predicts what is the future loss of income and injuries and pain and suffering 15 years from now, which is almost impossible for the physicians to do now or the lawyers to do. How it does that? It has access to over 10,000 similar cases and the outcome of it, which you can have, and if you do, you don't have the resources to go through them. The machine does. And whenever you make a correction to that demand, it learns, and it learns how to go research and investigate it further to make itself better and better. So it's this kind of a system that improves and expands by the minute. No, it doesn't. It goes based on the existing cases. Like in our case, on the demand writing, we gave it 5,000 entire file of a personal injury cases that are similar. Automobile accidents, rear-ended. So, yes, it's called hallucination, by the way. If you ever see that word within the AI, it says hallucination. AI hallucinates, okay? So, but there are rare cases of that. When you, okay, I think I have to stop. But it's a hallucination, and it's just going to get better and better. Just like that associate that you hired that in the first 3 months made freaking 8 different wrong decisions or wrong findings that you're telling them and says, look, don't do that. This was wrong. Don't write that. That's wrong. But you're hoping that the person learn and expand it. AI does it. It learns. You tell them this is wrong, it really gets even pissed off and goes learn more because it wants to prove that they're right. Thank you, everyone. Available after the show if anybody wants to.